Thank you, John. I'll just run through a little bit of background and then some of the issues and examples of the good, the bad and the ugly in protests as I see them. I'm not going to run through the details on Viridor, but for those of you who don't know us, one of the UK's leading recycling, waste management and renewable power companies. We've been one of the fastest growing companies in the sector, keen to continue that growth, and therefore providing developments and new infrastructure is very important to us as a business to keep that momentum going. And I guess the last point there, that we do endeavour to do everything that we can to the highest professional and environmental standards, and that includes the consultation side of things regarding planning. The next slide gives an indication not of the amount of protests we've had against those developments, but gives you an indication of the spread of our operations. So we do have operations through most regions in the UK, providing the full mix of services. A little bit of context setting. We all know about the drivers to deliver new infrastructure and better resource efficiency. So landfill tax rising to a minimum of 80 quid a tonne, some very challenging landfill diversion targets, targets being talked about similar for commercial waste, and therefore need for new infrastructure to deal with those waste arisings. The recession has demonstrated that waste arisings are clearly linked to economic growth, and therefore as hopefully we go into recovery, that need will be identified further. And we've got a government that has set out its intention to accelerate progress of delivery of recycling services, energy from waste and improved resource efficiency. And all of those things and the new development and opportunities before us give us great opportunities to provide further investment, green jobs, growth, while delivering those essential services. So that's the reason and the drivers behind the need for development and engagement to enable that to happen. A little bit about Viridor and how we approach consultation. So if we're looking to develop a new facility, we do look to engage early and employ best practice. There is a clear role for local authorities to set the context for a lot of this development in terms of identifying suitable sites for waste management and recycling and renewable power infrastructure, to set their own waste strategy, and most local authorities have a very good programme of engagement and consultation to set that context. We then move in with specific developments for specific sites, and that's the point we get involved in the consultation. But we look to engage early, we look to map the relevant stakeholders in any given area so that we get a good understanding of the context, the needs of the local community, political needs, planning needs and the local media. And we then design the consultation around particular project requirements, looking to provide the optimum mix of good quality information, both online resources, door-to-door information, events and briefing, ongoing dialogue, and making sure we respond to queries as they come up. And we properly resource that, and we don't underestimate the logistics involved in providing proper and full consultation. And we're looking to utilise social media increasingly, because obviously that's an area that is growing, and certainly in terms of dialogue and engagement, very important. There is the danger with social media that it kind of makes it easier for far more people just to say no to something, whether they have a genuine local interest or not. But the important thing is for us is making sure there is a quality in the dialogue that goes through. But we do have a full commitment to accountable, comprehensive and transparent communications, and that's pretty important. Is there no such thing as bananas, dude? For those of you not aware with some of the planning acronyms and jargon, a banana is build absolutely nothing anywhere near anyone, and a dude is a developer under delusions of entitlement. So those are some of the issues that we face. Are obviously there is a local democratic process, and planning is an integral part of that, and engagement is an extremely important part of it as well. And we don't pretend to make any special case for ourselves as a waste and recycling company. We face similar issues to any other industry, like housing developers, anybody proposing any significant development will go through the same process. And of course, we in the UK are pretty proud of the principle of freedom of speech. So if somebody wants to protest, that is their right to get engaged, get involved. And also, a lot of people tend to concentrate on protests about some of the more contentious developments, energy from waste, landfill developments, etc. But the reality is now we face similar levels of protest, whether we're putting forward a recycling facility, a composting facility, the full range of infrastructure required. Points I'd like to make is undue attention is often given to a noisy minority around a development. People think if they shout and bang the drum and jump up and down again, then they will get listened to and that will sway the political process and the planning process. And it's all about making sure that the noisy minority, it's understood that they are not necessarily always representative of the local community. So, but they do suit media values, so they will get themselves a certain amount of attention. We're also aware that emotions do run strong. If you are proposing a major development in somebody's area, then it is obviously a concern to them. Change, people are always uneasy about change and the potential impacts it might have. So what's important is the quality of debate. This is just a slide to show a range of a few of the developments that we do have in the public domain at the moment. In the top left-hand corner, Avonmouth, a material recycling facility with an energy from waste facility on the back of it. Cardiff in the bottom left, which we received planning permission for last week, which we were very pleased about after a full and thorough process of engagement and some protesting. And New England down in southwest Devon, again, that we're in the middle of consultation for. A couple of common concerns, the bad about protests and opposition to such developments. There is a common misuse of statistics, a liberal use of wonky science from certain parties, and some of the examples are some of the arguments we hear and concerns we hear around dioxins, PM10s, and nanoparticles, etc., despite numerous scientific evidence, thorough government and health protection agency studies that prove time and time again that the science proves that the level of risk is so low as to be largely insignificant. And we also have the misuse of the energy from waste versus recycling argument, counter to the best practice examples that show the two can work perfectly happily alongside each other. Everybody becomes an instant expert on waste management when they begin to protest and often ignore the economic and environmental realities around it. We are concerned about a lack of accountability. We as an industry have to be accountable in everything we put forward. That doesn't always apply to the opposition. And of course, exaggerating the impacts and playing on public fears is also an issue we have to deal with. I'm not going to go into the full details of the ugly, but some of the examples. On the developer's side, the ugly aspect of engagement is shortcutting the engagement or consultation process, trying to slip it through under the radar or just trying to go through the motions of it. Doesn't work, a mistake on most examples that I've ever come across. And one of the issues is the complete disconnection early on, the refusal of one party to speak to the other and understand the issues and actually engage in a positive dialogue. That just leads to polarisation and isn't particularly constructive. And those employing dirty tricks, lies, etc., generally lead to a situation of conflict which is unhelpful to everybody. Last slide or two, ways forward on some of the issues. Well, I've mentioned recognition of commonalities with other industries. Other industries are engaged in the same issue. We need to work on best practice for engagement and to learn how to deal and put any protests in context, but it's continual dialogue and engagement is the key. Quality of communication on complex issues. Waste management is a complex industry. Some of the issues surrounding particular developments are very complex, and the intricacies of the planning system, again, complex issues to communicate, and we need to get better and make sure we engage on that. And we always need to focus on the key benefit of what we're trying to achieve as an industry. Recycling, waste management is all about improved resource efficiency, benefits and protection to the environment and human health, and we need to keep getting those messages across clearly in an understandable way. Whenever there is a protest, engagement, mutual respect and understanding is important. I'm not suggesting peace and love will break out across the globe, but actually respecting the opposition, understanding their needs and reacting to them is very important. And in terms of consultation and dealing with protests, dealing with the planning system, dealing with the political concerns at both local and regional level, we need to get better at it, employ best practice, but continually improve what we're doing. We've mentioned the areas of social media and online consultation. That's a growing area, one that opposition groups have been very quick to grasp and network on like crazy. We as an industry have been a little slow off the mark and we need to get better at that. And third-party facilitation, again, often has a role to play. It's pretty similar to any trade dispute. If you just shout at each other, you're not going to necessarily make progress. But to find somebody independent who can find ways forward and ways of compromise, it's often worked very well for us. And of course, the key principles in any consultation dealing with whether it's a noisy minority, a very sensible majority, but with some local concerns to be addressed. It's all about openness, transparency and integrity. We've got examples of our consultations that are live at the moment, and all the information we provide, including the full planning documents, etc., on our website, and we've paid quite a lot of attention to making those resources better to hopefully make the good, the bad and the ugly swing more towards the good and avoiding the ugly.
Fantastic. Dan, thanks very much.